All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to answer to some interesting questions for the community. Yeah. Let me give you like a quick intro and about my background and my skill set and how I got involved into this project. So I'm Aleksandar, coming from Serbia, south eastern part of Europe. I've been basically a software engineer for the last 13 years, and overall, my kind of like background and skill set was mostly, related to JavaScript ecosystem. And in the last 5.5 years, I've been very active into blockchain projects. Basically, I started off like 5.5 years ago diving into Ethereum ecosystem with Solidity smart contracts and working on a couple of interesting projects. And in the last couple of years, I got my hands dirty in a lot of interesting DeFi and NFT based projects. And Jade Protocol is definitely one of those which actually got my interest like a few months ago, where basically I got into a discussion with the founders and just wanted to join the team and help out with my development skills in order to fast forward basically some plans which they have and help them out to actually just release a lot of interesting stuff in the near future. So my expertise is mostly related to both those things, like literally building a full flag, decentralized applications. So behind me, I have a small team of four more engineers who are my best friends who work with me on a lot of interesting projects throughout all of these years. And we kind of like correlate the tech that we're using, and then we're always kind of like working on top of the notch of the quality of the projects which we were supporting in the last couple of years with all of the latest tech in a DeFi space. So since I joined Jade Protocol, I basically started off discussing with the guys how can my team help out on just bringing to a production level the Bridge app, which this project definitely needs. And since that moment on, like almost like 3 months ago, we started off basically developing two different stuff. And from that moment on, basically it was a hell of a ride, because we've been just going from one challenge to another challenge. And definitely I'm going to be sharing you during this CMA basically all of the specific details, what we did so far, where we're currently standing, and basically what is the kind of like roadmap up ahead.
That's great. Yeah, I think, we have a lot of people who are curious to hear the details. I know we have a lot of people who are also developers here who want to get kind of into the more technical side of things. So I guess I'll let you start with the bridge questions you got, since you gave us, a little bit of a background, and then we'll go through those bridge questions, and then people can kind of request to come up and ask any more specific questions after you're done with that. When we do the Q&A, I just want to remind people that Aleksandar's here to basically respond to questions that are focused on development. So he doesn't handle any of the treasury stuff. He doesn't handle operational things outside of development. So let's just make sure that we focus asking questions related specifically to that. But yeah, so I'll let you go ahead and start with the bridge questions. If you want to give like a little summary of the question before you answer it, I think that might be helpful, since I don't know if everyone has read the questions that were submitted.
Yeah, definitely. I can do a summary, because like most of the stuff that we have in that document is actually pretty straightforward, straight to the point. I mean, I understand that most of you guys from the community are actually keen to know more about our decision to actually go with our own custom made solution versus the some other bridge solutions which are offered out there. And of course, that a lot of you want to know what caused all of those delays, in the last couple of weeks, and what were the biggest struggles that we had during the implementation of the overall bridge protocol. So I will start with basically question, which is just asking about those benefits, where we look at the custom bridge and correlation with some other solutions who are out there offered, and they can be reused and or just build on top of it. When we initially planned actually to go with this part of the project, our biggest kind of like a struggle was to define like what are the benefits of should we do it like quick and easy, or should we just devote a bit more time so we can have more freedom later on in the future to just define the actual usability of the bridge protocol as we want, and extend it into multiple layers with a lot of multiple stuff. And I mean, decision was like, let's try to come up with both options. Like, let's just try to simultaneously work on both options, and just figure out along the way which one is a better fit for us, and then at the end decide if we want to just have one solution or both, or just go with one approach. And when me and my team actually started working on it, we split basically the work between us into two smaller, let's say, two smaller sub projects. First part of the project was just trying to define like which custom-made solution that other projects offered is the best possible fit for us in terms of simplicity, plus in terms of usability, and how far can it be extended. We reviewed a couple of interesting protocols, so there was like a couple of things that we were reviewing simultaneously, and we came up to agreement that seller bridge DApp is actually pretty straightforward, relatively easy to be integrated, and at the same time the guys from seller team were very communicated with. They gave us like a very detailed approach on implementing their solution, and just basically integrating it inside of our DApp. So we kind of like started building inside of one monorepo. The guys who are more technical, the developers, of course, know a bit more about approach when you're basically just organizing from the architectural layer your whole project into one Git monorepo, where we literally split it inside of the monorepo two different sub projects. One was basically a seller bridge implementation of our own, and another one was like totally from scratch our own custom-made solution. We started off with simultaneously working with both. Like literally, one part of my team was just following the seller documentation, and basically just trying to build out our own custom-made UI and hook it up with the seller integration in the background. That solution was actually prepared quite fast, because as I said, we had a support from seller team from the beginning, and it was relatively straightforward, documented approach where we had a lot of stuff already ready from their side, and we just basically had to hook up a couple of things, integrate their widget. They call it like a bridge widget, and just reference all of the environment variables which they already had preset to our own token, and to our own basically smart contracts which we are using. And literally everything else was just embedding that widget inside of our DApp on the front end, and all of the other stuff were done in the background from seller protocol side. On the other side, the more challenging and kind of like more time consuming part was building our own custom made solution. And to answer this question, why did we choose basically, also building our custom-made solution, is definitely a couple of things which are way more beneficial than using someone else's solution. Number one thing is freedom. I mean, when I say freedom, like literally freedom to adopt things, extend in our own way, and basically not depend on someone else set of smart contracts in terms of if something goes wrong, or I don't know, you need to update something, or you need to kind of like, I don't know, change something on a protocol side. Literally, with our own custom-made solution, we have a lot of freedom to actually build it up according to our needs, tweak it later on, and make it in a way that basically everything is upgradable and done in a way that it can be extended way more further than we initially anticipated. That's why that approach with the custom-made solution was definitely an option from the beginning. We knew from the beginning that it's a kind of like a time-consuming process, because like at the same time we were kind of like working on three different things inside of the custom-made solution monorepo. We had like to work on set of contracts who are going to be just basically in charge of the bridge, the actual server middleware, which is going to be kind of like let's say interconnection bridge between the UI and the actual smart contracts, and of course the front end, where we want to match basically and build out the actual component, which is in charge of the overall swapping and bridging between the assets. And from the beginning, we kind of like wanted to support multi-chain approach. And that's what we did basically from the beginning. Like our own custom-made solution is being built in a way that basically later on, as we decide to, I don't know, if we decide to actually add additional chains, additional tokens on top of it, it can be done relatively quickly. It's just a matter of like tweaking a configuration file, and literally in a couple of minutes we'll be able to just have the actual bridge working on totally another chain, which we didn't had a chance to implement until now. So literally the whole solution was built in that kind of a way that it's highly customizable, and it's very it's done in a way that basically any dev who runs through the documentation can set it up in a matter of a couple of minutes. And of course, for building that kind of a solution, you always need to push extra time, and no one said that it's gonna be easy from the beginning, because we had a lot of challenges, and you guys probably saw that one because we had to delay the actual production release in the last couple of weeks a couple of times. Definitely it was a challenging period, because there was a lot of stuff that needed to be handled in a test environment, and there were problems which were appearing on the fly, literally on the fly. We were just fixing one thing, then a couple of things popping out of nowhere, and basically we wanted to be sure that we are covering all of those edge cases before we even prepare everything for a testing and staging environment. And that's why basically in the last couple of weeks we'll be struggling to actually fix all of those issues and bugs before we're ready to actually say that we have some kind of a solution which will eventually at this point work on the testnet environment. So I think more or less this answers that first question, the benefits and pros and cons of why did we choose to actually go with that kind of like a longer path of building our own custom-made solution. And I think that you guys will agree that most of those beneficial things will definitely be in use in the near future, because like having the actual your own custom-made solution, you have a lot more freedom to actually customize it according to your need. And definitely I've been through my career working on a lot of different projects, and I've been seeing a lot of those kind of like struggles where some kind of a third-party integration potentially screw ups everything, or makes you a problem that you cannot resolve in your internal team, because you're or depending on something else. And definitely for us, bridging a lot of assets from one environment to another environment, it's a very serious thing, and we just don't take it for granted. So it needs to be fairly tested out, and it needs to be definitely in the best possible way covered with a lot of stuff, including the testing, including the actual test cases, which we always do right when we are writing the actual integration layer of smart contracts, because we want to be sure that basically our code base is clean, tested, and definitely pre-production ready before we release something. So yeah, I think that answers that first question of benefits. We can touch base on top of it later on during the EMA if you want me to clarify a couple of more things around the pros and cons. And I think we can basically talk about the next question, which is about my team and my experience of my team, and basically why did it take a bit more time.
Yeah, I think we can get into that. I think before we do that, I just wanted to ask a quick follow-up question, because you were talking about the ease of launching bridges afterwards once we kind of have this foundation set. I just wanted to clarify, is this other EVM networks, or could it be any network?
Yeah, it can be literally any network. Yeah, we were kind of like initially planning to just kind of like support just EVM based networks, but then we figured out like our approach is very kind of like agnostic, and at the same time very abstract when it comes to the configuration. So it can be literally in a matter of honestly saying, in a matter of few minutes, someone who is just skillful to from the development side to actually set up a new project from scratch. Definitely just by running through the docs, everyone will be able to just add the new chain and basically just clone the set of contracts who are responsible for the logic of swapping and bridging the token from one side to another. And with that, basically just have a new environment, totally brand new environment. So it's not that we're just out of by default just supporting EVM compatible chains. We were thinking a few steps ahead, and definitely I think that's a very kind of like beneficial thing for the protocol, because like with that we would be able to expand on a lot of other chains and a lot of other a lot of other environments, which we didn't have the time to actually do before. And with other approaches, with other solutions, that kind of a thing is not available out of scratch. So it's, I think it's way more beneficial with our custom made solution.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it kind of fits the narrative of what Kevin has talked about, which is a multi-chain future. So I just kind of wanted to make that clarification. And then, do you mind briefly touching on just kind of the mechanism of the bridge and how it works in terms of, is it holding tokens in escrow on one chain and minting new ones? Is it like a mint burn situation? Like, how exactly is the bridge meant to function?
Yeah, good question. So I mean, exactly like you mentioned it. So the overall thing is like, we have literally one main contract who is in charge of the actual swapping functionality, and behind of it is literally the good old logic of burning minting mechanism. So basically, we had set of methods who are on one side picking up the actual let's call it like deposits from the source chain, hold those that amount. It holds that amount for a particular period of time until the other side requests the destination chain requests to actually just release those tokens. And in the background, when during that process, like I said, in the background, it will just execute fairly familiar actions that we all know. So burning on one side and on another side basically minting the same amount of those tokens. The interesting part in our protocol is that in between we integrated kind of like a customizable fee structure where we will be able to let's say customize that according to our needs. And basically the protocol by default actually offers literally swapping with a mechanism of basically setting up the fee structure as we want it. So we can literally say that if we are using some of the chains who are very, let's say, fast optimized and low with fees, we can literally even eliminate fees to a zero, and just execute the swapping without any fees. Or we can play around with it and basically just if the overall project decides later on to through the community vote on some kind of a fee structure, let's say, we can set up a custom made fee structure with multiple fee levels where we can allocate some of the source resources, for example, to I don't know, like some treasury or funding or something like that. So we were thinking in that kind of a direction that we're not going to be just building the actual swapping mechanism. Also, we want to give the actual owners a way to play around with fee structure. And when I say play around, like literally eliminate it to zero, or just set it up into multiple layers where there can be a different layers of fees who are taking off from the fee from the swap when you execute the transaction. So in that kind of a way, it's also extendable and it's also highly configurable. So we can customize it according to our needs. I think that answers your question, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Thank you.
No worries. So yeah, let's touch base on other questions. So basically, the guys from the community also wanted to know how much time our dev team actually needed in order to make the decision if the this custom bridge will work or not. And on top of that, I know that a lot of you guys know you're just waiting for the actual date, kind of like a deadline, where basically when you see it like going live and you can start using it. And to answer both of those questions, like I can definitely say that we are at the final stage of testing out stuff. So the actual protocol works from both sides. We did confirm a few days ago during the testing phase that we can basically literally, burn on one side and on another side mint the same token, just forward it. So the actual, integration works. It all comes down to some minor issues that we are literally fixing now in the last moment before we can say to the overall community that it's gonna be fully ready for you guys to start using it. And I mean, if I need to kind of like just I don't know, just fix some kind of a date, I cannot like for sure tell you guys like, okay, it's gonna be this date, but definitely what I know, I mean, just by looking at the overall testing phase which we are into now, definitely that we are literally close, because like we are battling with 3 more issues that we need to fix in the upcoming few days, and after that basically I can vouch that the whole protocol is fully ready to go into staging mode, where our whole team is going to be testing it out even more deeply with a lot of kind of like stress testing and trying to break the actual bridge protocol before we are sure 100% that we can just push it to a production. So we are talking days, literally. Like my answer to that question, like it's days. It's not we're not anymore talking weeks. So you should expect it probably during this month, like literally during this month. I just cannot hook up on a date and just say like, hey, it's gonna be this date, until we are 100% sure ready. But definitely that I can say like 99.9% of the protocol works. Testing phase was initiated like a week ago. We are into that testing phase, and soon we assume that we can go to a staging testing and have everything prepared for a production release. And another question on top of that, some of you guys wanted to know if the custom bridge will work, won't work. What is the action plan? I mean, that's why we started from the beginning focusing on two things, like a custom-made solution plus third-party integration. And like I previously mentioned from the beginning, we have the seller solution up and running on the testnet, and it's basically we did a very a deep testing a few days ago where we managed to kind of like swap multiple times the actual tokens and then see them on a destination chain. So basically that's let's say second solution that we already have prepared, and simultaneously we are gonna be kind of like our main goal is of course to go with our custom-made solution, but we have a backup plan if something goes wrong or something is still kind of like blocking us to actually release this in a timely manner. So that's why from the beginning we took that kind of approach of just developing two things at the same time. A lot of you also wanted to know if the community will be able to peer review the contracts. And I know that some of you guys are also devs, and you would like to just get your hands on the code and basically just do your own audit of the actual protocol. Currently, the whole let me explain you basically how we actually divided the whole work and how everything was kind of like organized from the dev architecture and dev workflow. My team actually worked on a private repo from the beginning. So like I previously mentioned, it's a mono repo. It was from the beginning a private based repository, and it's still private based repository. But one of the things that we are definitely considering is we would like to kind of like open source at least the smart contract parts, so anyone will be able to just run through the code base, do its own review, and basically audit if it's needed. I mean, that's possible. We're probably going to be internally just discussing in the next few days internally in the team when are going to be just basically the smart contracts part of the mono repo just putting publicly available so you guys can actually review it. There are two more basically parts of it, like I said, the UI and the actual server middleware, who is in charge of the actual synchronization between the confirmations of the transaction and et cetera. And I think the most interesting part for you guys is the smart contracts, of course, protocol. So yeah, definitely we can open source that one, and when we're done with the proper testing, you guys can actually from the community, of course, get your hands on it, and maybe kind of like stumble upon, I hope not, but if you stumble upon some issues, that can be very grateful, because like we can probably see if we have some additional issues or errors in the protocol before we even release it to the production environment. So yeah, answer to that question, yes, we will provide you guys with the smart contracts code base, so anyone will be able to kind of like see the code and provide up instant feedback on top of it. So definitely we're looking forward to that one, because of course more sets of eyes is way more better than like only 4 guys working on it. So definitely we appreciate the support from the dev community that can just give their own honest review on top of our code base, and definitely we will open source that to you guys in the next period of few days. And yeah, the sixth question, which was related to the bridge section of the questions, was already answered. We answered that one previously. So the sixth question was around how easy it will be to bridge from or to other chains once the BSC to AVAX is built, or it will be a ground up process for each. So I already answered that one. Like I said, from the beginning, we were planning to actually support multiple chains. So even now, like every EVM compatible chain is literally a 2-minute job. We just setting different environment variables, and that's it. And every other chain is just a matter of a bit of configuring a couple of config files and just tweaking a couple of things on the server side code. And literally that's it. Like in a matter of a few minutes, you will be able to kind of like use a different chain and set which one is your destination chain, which is your basically source chain, and set with whichever tokens you wanted to use on those chains. So it's a very kind of like a configurable environment. Yeah, I think this answers this section of bridge questions that we had in the document. And if you don't have anything on mind, like I can just add a couple of more things which I wanted to kind of like share with you guys. A few of you asked me like about the expansion plans for the actual project, and how do we actually collaborate with how does my team, actually my own internal team, collaborate with Jade Protocol team. And basically you guys just wanted to see, I mean, what do I think of the overall Jade Protocol, and what do I think of the overall dev roadmap for the 2022 and then the near future. Definitely, it's been like in the last 3 months very exciting for me personally, and for my own internal team, because like we kind of like when we stumbled upon working on this one, and basically just started the collaboration, we saw a lot of let's say kind of like a approach from Kevin and other guys, like, which is very open and honest. And not a lot of projects actually have that kind of approach, where basically for the dev team, my hands weren't tied in. Like literally I had like all the freedom to organize my dev team as I wanted, and I have the freedom to actually influence on the decisions which we made for the dev roadmap, where basically two of my sons were here all the time. And I'm definitely grateful for that, because Kevin and the rest of the team actually were very honest from the beginning, and they always have room to actually hear everyone from the team, and just hear every suggestion, and brainstorm about the best possible solution before we even dive into some implementation. And that was really helpful from the beginning, because like I said, having that kind of a freedom to actually organize the workflow and organize the whole project in a way which we realistically see that is good, actually gave us a lot of boost in trust in this project. And then also it gave us a lot of freedom to actually just play around with a couple of things, and then just use the best possible practices from our industry, which we did definitely. And you guys will see when we open source the actual smart contracts, definitely a lot of kind of like pretty standardized things that in the industry is being used. We did use it, and we did fit it in the best possible way. And for me, I mean, I consider this as a start to the long-term collaboration, basically. Like I said, we kind of like joined the project like 3 months ago, and I still think our collaboration is just like at the very beginning level, because like Kevin has a lot of plans. We are here to support the guys, and definitely my dev team wants to dive in their hands even more into a lot of other aspects of this project, and also other projects involved with it. So literally, we do consider this as a long run, and definitely 2021 is very interesting and exciting, period, because like a lot of stuff is happening in our industry. You all know, guys, that things are moving like crazy. In the blockchain space, and especially we saw that the whole DAO and kind of like decentralized organization projects just made it to the mainstream in the last couple of months. And I think that kind of a decentralization thing is definitely something for this year to grow even more, because like after all, we all saw that all of these decentralized protocols which are being built have to be used in a decentralized way from the community, and there is no other way that those protocols will actually succeed if they're not truly honest, open, and they hear and listen what the community has to say. And this project is definitely one of those that it's always kind of like supporting the community in terms of like listening to you guys, and then having different proposals, and basically digesting the feedback that it's getting from rest of the community. And definitely some of those things are being considered, like from the community feedback for the upcoming period to be be considered to just run through the brainstorming session, or just being considered to maybe start implementing some of the new features and new stuff that we want to release in the next period. Of course, I cannot relive a lot of those things, because a lot of those things are still not defined, and then they're just still on a piece of paper. But definitely, you can expect a lot of more stuff from Jade Protocol in the next period, because like the overall project is growing, and we still want to kind of like increase the engagement of the community. And definitely this year for us from the dev side is going to be way more exciting. Like this is just the beginning with Bridge, and we are definitely here on the long run to support this project, and to work with the guys on achieving a lot of interesting success in the next period. And one more thing which I will just add on top of it, because probably some of you guys had a chance to review my LinkedIn profile, and you probably saw that I have a lot of experience working on other projects also. And throughout all of these years, I've been a member of a couple of very interesting projects. I was also a part of Cardano core team for almost like 3 years, basically, and I was working on some interesting DeFi protocols also. And definitely, I would say, like I already mentioned that one, but definitely Jade is very let's say honest community, and from the founding team, very let's say skillful environment, because like a lot of individuals in the actual founding team are people who actually have vast experience in their this area, and who have been into overall development and marketing in tech for the last couple of decades, and definitely that's a proof that this project is very serious. And I mean, in my eyes, it's definitely in top 3 projects where I worked on in the last my whole blockchain career, literally. And definitely that's kind of like a proof also for me that I'm at the right place at the right time. And that's why I think like with a mutual benefit, like I definitely want to help out the guys on a lot of other stuff that's being planned and prepared. And yeah, I hope we'll be able to have these kind of AMA sessions in the next period occasionally, because I also want to hear like a lot of feedback from people from the community, especially those tech guys who are developers themselves, and who have some kind of a feedback for me and my team. And yeah, I mean, definitely, I want to keep as much as possible in a decentralized way, open source when it comes to the dev team. As the time flies by, basically communicate more with the community, and then hear what you guys have to say during all of the development phases for all of the different parts of our project that we are going to be integrating in the near future.
Wow, Alex, I think, I speak for a lot of us when I say that it, first of all, is comforting to be able to be on voice chat with someone who's on the team. I think a lot of people are maybe a little frustrated that they can't hear the voices of the founders. And there's good reasons for that, but it's very helpful when we have other members of the team come and kind of shed light on what's going on behind the scenes, because I think that's the biggest thing that as a team we need to improve on. Not you, but us, is making sure that communication with the community is kept open. And so we're trying to do our best, and this is kind of just the first step, like you said, towards doing more of these AMAs and kind of continuing to collect that feedback, because it's very valuable. So people should be able to request to speak at this point. I know Alex said that he's going to be able to stick around for another really hour and 10 minutes. So if people have questions and they want to come up and ask them live, feel free to request to speak. If for some reason the request button isn't working, feel free to ping me or DM me and I can unmute you in here. But it should be enabled. And then we can take some live questions for as long as there are live questions, and then we'll probably wrap things up.
Perfect. Keep it coming, guys. So yeah, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I guess while other people are conjuring their question, one, I just wanted to thank Aleksandar for coming on. It's been great to hear all of this insight and really exciting, and I've been tweeting some of it out, and it's getting a great response. So I appreciate you being here. I think what could be useful for people that are not from the dev community, and because you've done a really good job of highlighting the technical aspect of why you're building the custom solution and how this, long term actually allows us to move faster, even though it may have been a slower build time up front. But can you talk a little bit about just mechanically what it looks like for a user who knows nothing about the technical underpinnings? I think there's been some confusion that, at least that I've seen, that every single chain is going to have its own website. But my understanding is that there's one website and basically you log in from the network that you want. And so the multi-chain aspect is just basically allowing us to reach more and more people and push marketing messages out to communities on different networks. But could you walk us through just what the actual implementation of buying and staking Jade will look like on each network, and just confirm that it's basically the same process as it is now? You're just opening it up to being able to utilize assets from other chains. I just want to explain it like I'm five for some of us out there that aren't as technically minded.
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Thanks, Ron. So, I mean, it's very straightforward, literally very kind of like similar to all of those, bridge and swap and DeFi based swap solutions that we are all as users used to. So, literally, it's just, one website, let's call it like that, one web application where you're, of course, you need to connect your first source chain through your Web3 providers such as MetaMask, which is well known in our community, of course. And you have basically just one big component in the middle of the screen, which has different two input sections. The first one on top is basically a source chain with a source token, where you can select which chain do you want to use as a source chain, and you can basically from the drop down select the token. Of course, in this particular case, we just have like Jade token there, basically. But again, I will repeat myself again. It's built in a way that you can extend it with multiple tokens, literally. So for now, we just, of course, offer over there basically Jade token, which is going to be read from your MetaMask Web3 provider. Of course, the balance of your token. You will have the input field where you can just either select the maximum amount of it or just input the amount which you want to swap. And below it, you will have exactly the same component, which just has another input field and, of course, another selection of the destination chain and the destination token. Again, in this case, only Jade token. And you will, as you input the actual values, in the background, the calculation of your fee structure will be presented at the bottom of that component. In the calculation, which will say, okay, you inputted like, I don't know, 100 tokens. There is some kind of a fee structure already set. You will just see basically at the bottom, okay, you will get 99.2, something like that. And the rest of it, it's going for this, and this fees that you need to pay in order for the swap to be executed. At the bottom of it, you will have a approval button, which will switch from the moment you click approve and you approve it through your MetaMask that you can just execute that transaction, which will switch to a transaction button. So you need to do two actions, literally. For the first time, you need to approve that this application can spend your Jade tokens. When you approve it, you only need to do that once, and basically from that moment on, it will be just recorded. From that moment on, that same button approve will just transform to a transfer button, and on the second click, the MetaMask will pop up in order to confirm the transaction. You will need to wait depending on the actual chains. Again, I mean, for this, of course, version where we are basically building the bridging between BSC to AVAX, both of those networks are relatively quick. So we are talking about a few seconds, literally, from the action of burning on BSC to the action of minting on AVAX. So literally in a few seconds, you will be able to see a confirmation that your transaction was executed. And of course, you will see the actual link to the explorers where you can recheck what happened in the background and where were your assets sent through and what amount you received. And of course, right after that, you can just switch your chain in your MetaMask to a destination chain, and you will see after a few seconds, basically of course, if the transaction was successful, you will see the assets bridged on the destination chain, and literally that's it. Like, it's very similar to, I mean, all of us, we are very, very, kind of like, it's a very well-known thing, like probably all of us used Uniswap, for example, or SushiSwap or similar. So it's very similar. From the user interface perspective, it's very similar to those dApps. So literally like one centralized widget where you have all of the input fields and you have all of the selections where you can select basically with which chains and tokens you want to operate, and you will see a straightforward feedback of the fee structure and what are you paying for, and basically you, depending on the chains, it will just be a matter of few seconds or few minutes, literally. So in this case, of course, between BSC and AVAX, in most of the cases it's a matter of few seconds of bridging from one side to another, and that's it.
That's awesome. Thanks for breaking it down like that. And I think it's going to be really cool to have this up and to see where your dev team and the Jade founders are directionally able to take this as we're able to bridge to more and more chains. So appreciate you being here.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So I went ahead and basically enabled for anyone to unmute themselves. So feel free to unmute and ask your question if you have one. I know a couple people had DM'd me.
While those questions are coming in, I'll bogart a little bit more of your time, Aleksandar. The smart coin community would probably kill me if I don't ask something about sublayer. I mean, one of the things that we are going to be voting on later this week is a proposal that one aspect of it, and you and I have had a little back and forth on this, is basically bridging NFTs. And so I'm just curious. I don't expect you to have a direct answer to this because I know we haven't dived into too much detail about it yet. But with the bridge that's being built, it sounds like it's something that allows for the bridging of any digital asset, or is it just Jade? Can you talk a little bit about the type of assets in addition to Jade that could utilize similar bridge technology?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anything that is kind of like currently what we have over there is basically any type of ERC20 compatible coin or basically any type of well-known non-fungible token. But definitely it can be extended to also NFT based tokens, because like the overall bridge contracts who are in charge of the actual swap mechanism with the burning and minting functionalities, they are built in a way that they are very abstracted, and basically those methods who are just doing the actual swapping, they can support any type of the asset. It's just a matter of a bit of tweaking the actual, just forwarding the actual asset which that bridge needs to utilize. So what do I mean with that one? So currently, during the testing phase, we did play around with a couple of ERC20, based test Jade tokens that we created internally just for testing purposes. But we also did wanted to kind of like play around with some tokens who are just basically NFT based tokens or some basic NFT function. They have some basic NFT functionalities, and we managed to kind of like achieve similar behavior. The only kind of constraint is that that token needs to be, of course, every single NFT. I mean, famous NFT that we know already has, of course, embedded by default the actual minting mechanism. But some of the tokens don't have the burning mechanism. And basically, sorry, there.
Yeah, it looks like people are able to mute and unmute now. So if you're not speaking, if you can just mute yourself if you've got some background noise, and I promise it.
Zen's leftover sometimes. I mean, what you cooked recently?
Yeah, I think we may have lost Aleksandar for a second. I think he got cut out.
Sorry guys, I'm back. It was my connection issue. Yeah, so I was in the middle of it. Yeah, thanks for muting, by the way. Yeah, so I mean, I was talking about the actual ability to actually bridge any asset, including the NFT. The only kind of like constraint is that our kind of like mechanism is built in a way that those tokens that we want to bridge, the assets that we want to bridge, they do have to have some kind of a burnable method implemented. So they need to be by default burnable. So if we're talking about some kind of an asset which doesn't have the burnable mechanism, actually some kind of a functionality which will burn them, the only way to achieve that kind of a same thing is for us to just tweak the actual server side, and on the server side in the middleware, just try to send that those tokens who are not burnable by default to just zero address, literally graveyard address, and in that kind of a way just simulate the burning basically and achieve the same behavior. But by default, our bridging protocol actually communicates with all of those assets who have the actual minting and burning mechanisms already available. So to answer your question, Don, for the NFT based assets, yes, it's by default possible to just use them and to just try to bridge and just re-reference basically to a same metadata for any NFT based image NFT, reference to the same metadata which is being stored somewhere else, basically read from the same file which is referencing the actual NFT properties. But the only constraint is like we will need to know if some of those non-fungible tokens are not kind of like burnable, so we can tweak the server side and basically just add an extra support, so we can try to from the server side directly send them to that zero address, instead of mechanism failing to actually execute the burning method if they don't have it implemented. That's the only kind of like constraint that we have in the protocol. But definitely it's able to just support any type of asset who has like burning and minting mechanism included by default, literally.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate you unpacking that, and look forward to chatting more with you about that. I'll let some other people come in and ask you some questions. But thanks, Aleksandar.
Appreciate it. No worries.
Hello, Aleksandar. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
First, thank you for doing this. This is the first time. It feels nice to connect with more of the team members. So thank you for doing this. One quick question I had. I don't know how the technicality works, but assuming we proceed with sublayer where we're going to have our own subnet/chain, can we utilize the bridge in a way where we can use smarter as the gas fee for the bridge too? So people when they're bridging like Jade, they can use smarter as the gas fee to use the bridge.
That's a good question. Yeah, we actually didn't thought about it. Yeah, that can be an open discussion. We could basically try to kind of like discuss about it even more. But like currently, the whole implementation is done that it just by default. It won't be able to kind of like support it by default. We will need to kind of like inspect the overall code base and just see if we can support sub chaining in that kind of a way, because like the current implementation is just like built in a way that it can support multiple chains, but those it doesn't know about sub chains of some other chains. So that's the kind of like a constraint that we have right now. But definitely we can talk about that topic. Maybe there is a way to. That's why we have the actual middleware server side in between, because some of the operations that are not supported by default, they can be mimicked on top of the middleware. So that can be also let's say an additional upgradable stuff that we can add, because we can try to mimic some of the stuff with the middleware and try to kind of like, I don't know, maybe integrate some sub-side chain on top of the two chains that we are using for the bridging, and then just play around with the implementation from a totally different angle of view. Not fully running through the smart contracts, also running through our middleware where we can try to, I don't know, maybe deposit and hold something and then do some actions before we push it to a destination or source chain through our middleware as an interconnection in between. So yeah, there are ways. I'm thinking from the top of my head. Probably there are ways, but it needs to be fairly tested out and needs to be discussed before I can give you a proper answer to that question.
Yeah, I appreciate you even riffing on it, and I just wanted to jump in because I think there's kind of two different things happening in that question. One is it technically possible, and I think you spoke as best you could to it right now in the moment. The second would be, from an administrative or DAO perspective, is that what we want? And so if we were ever going to do anything utilizing Smarter as a fee structure, that would need to go to some kind of a DAO vote on both the Jade and Smarter side. So those are things that I think will be evolving conversations, especially as we have our on-chain vote for sublayer in the coming week, and assuming it passes with an in favor vote, then I think we can get into a little bit deeper conversation of if and when there's any crossover between the projects.
I like John's additional comment, and Alexander, you answered the question perfectly. I'm more than happy with that. The other question I have, there, without naming any projects, there is a project that they do like a weekly like Medium article on from the developer side, where they say like, this is what we have progressed, this is what we're working on, this is what we achieved, this is the next step, the amount of progress that happened. Do you feel comfortable doing something like that? I'm asking you this question because I feel like you're gonna be the one either passing on the points to someone to write the article, or you can write it yourself. But I feel like it would be a nice like add-on for the community to be involved, beside the AMAs, if speaking isn't the best way to deliver the message.
That's always an option. I mean, if it's that beneficial thing for the community, yeah, why not? Why not? I'm open to that one. I mean, definitely from the tech side, I can dive in into those kind of like a roadmap updates, more technical, and basically try to describe what we did so far, where we're currently standing, what's our current kind of like plan for up ahead, and like do it on a weekly level. Honestly saying, I'm not a copywriter, so I don't know how to present it from a non-technical side, in a way that it's written and well formatted that non-technical people will understand it. But that's definitely we can try to figure something out internally in our team, and basically try to at least kind of like have a small summary of the changelog updates, what's been done, what kind of struggles we had, and then basically in a few kind of like paragraphs, just update you guys about the current process. Why not? That can be beneficial. Why not?
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I'm in talks in DMs with Kevin to see if we can kind of do a State of the Union report for Jade on a more regular basis that includes updates from each team, not just the development team, and that way we can all kind of have a better understanding of kind of what's going on behind the scenes.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that works. Thank you so much. That was all for me.
Thanks for asking. Yeah, anyone else? Don't be shy. I mean,
we had a couple questions in the chat. It's kind of odd because it seems like some people can request to speak and some can't, but I can share the questions in the chat from Bultoshi. He said, when the bridge is almost when you say the bridge is almost complete, does this also include the bonding contracts for bonding the Smarter JLP for Jade? So I'll let you answer that one first.
Well, honestly saying, not fully, because like our biggest focus was on the bridge, in all of these last few weeks. So Honestly saying, we don't have a lot of insights on that part, and basically my team didn't actually dive into the body mechanism a lot.
Okay.
So I cannot give you a proper answer to that one.
I can speak to it though, because I'm working with a couple of the developers that are building out those new contracts, and we are in the testing phase. Basically, the contracts are written and working as intended. We just need to link them to the new website UI and test on the test net. So that is in process, and kind of all these things are coming together in tandem. But we are able to fetch the whitelist, which is basically anybody that's diamond handed, and continue to just kind of beat that smart contract up to make sure that there's no holes in it. So I would say that we are somewhat delayed on that, but looking to sync as far as our timing for release, so that everything is good to go in the same timing.
Okay, great. And then the other question is, what is the time frame that you're planning for the staging stage? For example, how many days do you anticipate? I know you also mentioned, okay, so the second question is basically saying, what's the probability we could go into production or launch by end of March? And you mentioned that that's highly probable that this will be ready by the end of the month. And then this other question was asking about 2022 objectives and roadmaps. You kind of said what you could about that, but we left it intentionally vague because we don't want to comment on things that haven't been, fully fleshed out. And then I guess in addition to that, planning for the staging stage question, the other question is, have you spoken to Kevin and the team and verified their backgrounds? And if so, what verifications were provided to you?
That's a good one. Yeah. Staging, I mean, my view on it is like, because we are like still at that kind of like testnet testing stage, next week. So I mean, we are aiming for mid to end of next week to fully kind of like be sure that like we are going with staging environment, and then probably a day or two or three max of proper testing, so we can say that, and hopefully if we don't have any issues and bugs to report, we can say that end of my honest anticipation is like end of next week, so we can be pre-production ready, and then basically just start with the overall announcement of the actual production release with the fixed then date, because like at that point then definitely we are sure that we can set aside a date which will be release date for the bridge to go live. And yeah, a lot of people are kind of like very vague when it comes to anonymity, and kind of like people who are a lot of projects are just popping up like totally anonymous, with founders and co-founders being like totally disguised and working in incognito mode. Of course, I do have regular meetings with Kevin and rest of the teams, rest of the developers from the team. Basically, we do communicate on a daily level, and then we also have a couple of meetings, not only through chat channels. Also, we had meetings via Google Hangouts, where we basically discussed about the next steps in our roadmap, and basically the implementation of everything that we work together. So I mean, if I need to trust someone, I do it by just one of the first things for me in the decentralized world. I try to, as much as possible. I mean, I don't care about the person who is behind of it in terms of like the personality and the actual person who is standing behind of it, but in terms of the results and what's been done, communicate with the community. I mean, I was also utilizing Jade Protocol like a few months before I actually joined the project. and I already knew about some stuff. And at the same time, I did a bit of a background research on the actual, achievements so far, the actual community, which grew to a higher number in a very short period of time, and what were the roadmap updates, before I actually joined the team. And honestly saying, one let's say one thing which was also for me kind of like a, building the trust in a positive way, is that I was, before getting in contact with Kevin and the rest of the team, I was approached by a recruiter who actually approached me and my team to actually meet us before we talked about the whole overall collaboration. So that actually raised the actual awareness of that trust level to a higher level, because in most of the cases when you have some kind of a recruiter agency standing behind of it, it's not like that someone is trying to scam you, or you're trying to work with someone who is not a real person verified, or basically some kind of a person who doesn't want to kind of who just wants to disguise and basically doesn't want to reveal you everything. I mean, for me, again, I don't care if someone wants to be totally anonymous. That's fine, as much as the actual communication towards the community and the actual basically results which are standing behind that person are verified online, and then basically there is a lot of stuff which was released by that person and put in public. I'm totally fine with it. I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are comfortable with people being anonymous, and a lot of people aren't. It just kind of depends on what camp you fall into. But I think it's safe to say at this stage of where Jade is, if these people weren't serious, we wouldn't be here right now. They could have ran off with $120 million very early on if they really wanted to.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the overall proof. A lot of those DAO projects, when they appeared during the fall season 2021, we all saw that a lot of those were rug pulls. Like after a few days of just releasing the protocols and just having a high TVL, but we saw a bunch of rug pulls with a lot of anonymous teams. And this protocol is still here. You guys you can utilize everything over here, and it's still up and running. It's live. And I think that's the biggest proof that no one tried at any given point of time to actually scam anyone and just to rug pull from this project. So definitely this is a different story than the other quick rug pull schemes were created with the Olympus DAO forks in the last few months. Which, honestly saying, after all of these months, a lot of those were just rug pulls. They just closed their projects, and we don't see that kind of a hype around those Olympus forks these days. And for me, one of the biggest kind of a plus in the overall investigation about the Jade Protocol roadmap and all of the achievements so far was that basically after a while of project being live, I realized how they communicated to the community that of course this is not just a Olympus DAO fork. This is something bigger, and it actually grew into a whole different protocol, which is not just famous because it's Olympus DAO fork. So I think a couple of those things are very, very hard proofs that this project is really kind of have a uptrend and definitely something that can raise the awareness of the overall community that all of these things that we are doing basically want to help out, that this is being created in a decentralized way, that you guys have power to decide.
Are there any other questions from anyone on the call?
Just curious with the bridge, if the smarter LP swap isn't ready, are we still going to proceed? This might be a question more for John, but with the marketing on the Jade side that Avalanche is live, are we still going to launch it if Aleksandar's team's ready to go? If the LPs aren't ready, are we still going to, or are we trying to launch it all at the same time?
Yeah, I think we're trying to launch it all at the same time. I mean, we're pretty close on our end with the smarter contracts as well. So, you know, from a bang for our buck perspective, like getting the most out of our marketing and being able to have the entire community be enthusiastic about the Avalanche launch, which is a sentiment thing, right? Like we want to make sure that everybody has as much enthusiasm for the launch as possible, so that sentiment and tone online is all pointed in an optimistic direction. And so I think what we will be looking to do is align the new website launch, the bridge launch, the Avalanche marketing push, and the smarter Jade LP swap, all as kind of a package launch to give us the most bang for the buck.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Anyone else with questions for Aleksandar?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Should. It's just a quick question. Probably messed up a little bit, but is Jade starting to feel like a FOD, like basically farming as a service? Because I started looking into it, and I'm like, you know what? It's starting to feel like that's what it's becoming if you're a Jade holder. That was it.
So again, this AMA is kind of focused specifically on the development team and what the bridge is doing. So it's not really a general AMA, but to briefly answer your question, the goal, I guess, is not necessarily farming as a service unless that farm is investing in seed stage investments. I think the big asymmetric reward is kind of coming from investing in those early stage companies. But again, if we can keep the questions kind of focused on development related stuff, specifically the bridge, that'd be great.
And I'll just add in that, you know, for me, the product of Jade is the treasury and the ability to invest the treasury for preferential economics. So one reason that it's interesting to hold Jade for me is because the fund management team through the Jade treasury gets preferential, you know, access to investments that I as a retail investor wouldn't be able to get access to. So Jade is giving exposure to some of those preferential economics through seed investments, and as those play out in the marketplace, the idea is that floor rises. So you know, for me, the technical underpinnings of the bridge are just a way to give Jade more exposure, and during preferential bonding windows to grow the treasury, which allows us to place more strategic bets in the marketplace.
Another question for Alex is the bridge going to be its own like universal or UI website, or is it going to be integrated within, say, the Jade's website?
So from the front end perspective, it's being built as a separate React application. And I mean, it all comes down to the decision what we want to do at the end of the day. We still didn't kind of like touch base on that topic. Should we just integrate it as an additional link where we are just opening it up directly inside of the, you know, Jade Protocol dApp, and just an additional link where we render down the whole, you know, the whole widget of the bridge component, or we just link it down as an external link and we deploy it on another environment and just, you know, have the link sitting there, and basically whenever you click on it, you are just being forwarded to another website which has the whole component. So either if we choose one or the other way, it all comes down to just basically reconfiguring the React app. How do we want to deploy it, and that's it. Like literally, if you're embedding it inside of the overall UI which we have, or we are just forwarding and deploying it as a separate instance. It can be done in one or another way, and it's just a matter of few minutes of tweaking the actual build before you build the actual app and deploy it somewhere on the environment. So we still didn't decide on that one, and yeah, we need to talk about it internally and let you guys know. So I will have the answer to that question probably during the next week.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Anyone else, guys?
Any other questions for Alex? And again, if you for some reason can't unmute, feel free to just put it in the general chat or put it kind of in my DMs. Let's see. All right. If there aren't any questions, I guess we can kind of wrap things up. I want to say thanks to Aleksandar for coming on and kind of giving us all some more clarity on what's going on behind the scenes. We wish you and your team good luck in kind of finalizing things. It sounds like the custom bridge solution really is the best way forward long term. But it's also good to know that you guys do have the seller bridge ready to go if need be in the meantime, and then we'll have kind of that custom solution available for the future. And I just want to say we're also really excited to be hearing more from you and your team, and to have you guys working with us over the in the long term. So thanks again for coming on. If you have any, I guess, like final closing words before we end here.
I just have a quick question. Sorry, there is a background noise. We know that the bridge is to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, the bridge is mainly the only technical thing that requires a developer. Is there an opportunity for, let's say, Alex and his team as developers to work on the sub layer too, instead of like having to have a separate team? I don't know really what the reason for a different team is.
Sorry, I didn't quite get your question with the layer 2 solution. Can you just elaborate a little bit?
I'll jump in here. Basically, Alex, he's talking about if our sublayer project for the Smart Coin community passes with an in favor vote next week. He's asking, does it make sense for us to have our own team, or could we utilize some of your team? And I think that those are conversations that we could certainly have. But my understanding, and I'll let you speak to it directly, is that your team is pretty focused on maintaining that bridge and looking at the opportunities that are available to us as we move, from to Avalanche and beyond. So, Steve, for Dash's question is there an opportunity for us to utilize your team if the sublayer project passes with an in favor vote?
Yeah. I mean, we can get into discussion, like so. It's an open thing. Always, like we need to kind of like get a little bit more familiar with it, but why not? I mean, we have definitely at that point, if the actual voting passes by and the community wants to go with that thing going forward. From our side internally, we have a lot of stuff that we already, of course, built for the bridge. So some of the stuff can be maybe utilized, So it's an open discussion that we can definitely have in the upcoming period.
Great, and Safe and everybody on the community side, I think the thing that we need to think about as a community is, do we want to have somebody who is dedicated to our project, or do we want to have somebody that has multiple irons in the fire? And so I think it would be great to continue those conversations with Alex and his team. Anyhow, Alex, we'll continue those conversations, and especially as we have an in favor vote that makes that project a little bit more real. We can have more in-depth conversations than we've already had.
Yep, definitely. Perfect. All right, guys. So if no one else wants to ask anything, I just want to, thank you for having me. It was interesting to actually, after a long period of time, talking like this, like about the actual, roadmap and the actual, development plans, what we did so far, and I'm looking forward for this protocol to be up and running live very soon. I want to see a feedback also from the dev part of the community in terms of the, reviewing the code base and just, giving us some kind of honest feedback. That will mean a lot for me and my team internally. And of course, that will mean a lot on the building the trust level of the overall Jade Protocol, project, because again, I'm repeating myself. Like, for me, it's really, really important that I have an instant feeling, basically feedback from the community, because for me also that helps me to, do things in a way that you guys understand it, and also kind of like matches with the expectation that the community has. So, that's why we are here. Like, we're not just building stuff out of the main, purpose of building it. We want to create stuff which are being utilized by you guys and which has a higher purpose, and that's why we need to have this kind of correlation between the community and the dev team. So I like that suggestion for having those weekly updates via, I don't know, some kind of article, blog post, whatever. We'll figure it out. Definitely I will start doing that, because I assume that's kind of helpful for the rest of the community to know about the actual, roadmap, and the previous week, let's say, kind of like log of things which were achieved. So yeah, you can look forward for that one anytime soon. So I'll try to communicate with the rest of the team so we can try to do those things probably from next week going onwards. And yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoy it. Hopefully we'll organize these kind of sessions again anytime soon. You all know my Discord. Feel free to reach me out on DM for anything tech related. So I'll be able to be more than glad to respond you on any tech related stuff, and of course to respond you on anything which I'm fairly familiar with. So I don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle put together. I don't know all of the aspects of the overall kind of like roadmap up ahead, but everything that can be shared with the community from the tech side, I'm the right person to contact. So feel free to contact me on DM whenever you want. Thanks, everyone.